So now that we've done the header and the footer, we're actually going to work on the main content of the page, and this will fill up a lot quicker than it will actually seem, I promise. So most of this content is kind of sections to the page. We have a section of tagline, we have a section for the first project, project 2, project 3, project 4, and even on other pages as well, section of about, a section of contact as well. So this is the main way that we're going to be working. Now, there isn't a kind of tag in HTML in our list called tagline or project, but there is other things that we can use in here. So this is the content section as part of MDM's HTML element list, and what we can see in here is sections. And because I've been talking so much about sections, we're going to add this to our site. So we're going to use a section tag next. So in our code, what we're going to do is go back to our index.html, and instead of this artist in Portland, Oregon, between our header and footer, we're going to start filling in all of the sections. So the first one is we're going to add a section and close this. And again, we're going to open this up, and this inside here for now is just going to be where the tagline will go. So I'm just going to write tagline. The next section underneath here, and this is outside of this current section, so between the tagline and the footer, is going to be another section called project 1. And I'm going to do this a few times. I'm going to do project 2, and outside of this, project number 3. Oh, that's 4, 3, and another section down here called project 4. Now eventually what we'll do is we'll add sections to the other pages. For now we'll just focus on one page. I like to focus just on one page at a time and then add extra things later on. So at the moment what we'll see on the site is something like this: tagline, project 1, project 2, project 3, project 4. So what we're going to do first of all is add some space between everything so we can see down the page. So I'm going to go into my style.css, and I'm going to do this maybe after all of this, but before footer. So I'm just going to, again, trying to keep the order a little bit sane for me. I'm going to do section. So the first thing I want to do is add some space between them all. So I'm going to add a margin between everything. So let's see what this is. So margin between them, I think that's wrong. I think it's 80. Yeah, it's 80. So we're going to add a margin between everything of 80 on the top, 0 on the left, on the right, there's 80 on the bottom, 0 on the left. So what we should see now is a bit more of a gap going down the page. And again, I can just change my footer back to what it should be because I've just got this wrong. So I'm going to change this back to space between. There we go, beautiful stuff. So I'm going to change this back to space in the center. So just center there instead. There we go, beautiful stuff. So now what we have as we go down the page is this kind of idea of a tagline. So what I want to do in each individual section is apply a set grid to all of this. So to do this, still within my section, I'm going to use a different display type. The display type I'm going to use here is called grid. So one is called flex, one is called grid. So grid, all of our stuff does align to a grid. So this is what we want to do to set things up. So here what I want to set up is the same thing as what I set up in our layout grid. I had in here a gutter of 32 and a 12 column grid and a width of this. Now the width doesn't really matter because we know the total width of the page already. We just need to know there's 12 columns and a gap between all of them. Now we don't really see this as part of our CSS right now, but what we'll do is we'll start to work into this as we go. So because I want to set up a 12 column grid, I'm going to do a grid dash template dash columns. And this is going to have a repeat, and in brackets, we want to repeat 12 times 1FR. So a little bit more complex. So we're using repeat and round brackets. We're going to repeat 12 times 1 fraction. So this is a 12 column grid, and each column is exactly the same. We're also going to add in here a gap, and the gap is going to be what? Well, remember from before what we said is originally it was 24, and Andre had a suggestion going up to 32. So we're going to make this one 32. So 32 and 32. So we're doing it in two directions because there might be a gap going down the page as well as across if we go into the next section. So what we're going to see now is something that looks like this. Exactly the same as before. So we need to start filling this into the page now. So the first one we're going to work on is tagline. So how do we do this? So in my index.html, instead of it just saying tagline, what I'm going to do is replace this tagline with a H1 style. Now I can add multiple H1s on the page as long as they're the same hierarchy, but what goes inside H1? So remember from before we had some copy, and I can take this either from my assets or I can take it from Figma. I'm going to take it from Figma. I'm going to copy this in from here, in here. So let's see how this looks. Now, at the moment, what it will do is it will go down the page because it's trying to squeeze all of this into one grid. Now, I want this to go across the middle of this page. I want this to be not only in the middle, but also on this kind of second column. So the second column, I'm going across 10. So how do I do that? Well, what I'm going to go and do is add another style. So just like we had with our footer, where we said footer and then pick the A tags, I want to pick the H1s inside section. So I'm going to pick the section, then the H1. So here, what we're going to say underneath this is we're going to add a new style. The style we're going to add is section for H1. And we're going to add some curly brackets. Here, what we want to say is we want this H1 to go across 10 sections, 10 columns, and also start at number 2. So to do this, what we're going to say is grid dash column. It's going to be starting in number 2. So let's see how this looks. There we go, it's shifted over. But we also want this to span across 10. So the next thing we're going to do is a slash span 10. So this is going to start at 2 and span 10 across. So it looks a little bit like that. Now the other thing that we want to do with this H1 is basically align it in the center. Now how do we do that? Again, there's another style that we can add in here called text align. So underneath here, I'm just going to add text align center. Now center with an ER, if you are British or Canadian, it is with an ER rather than RE. So one thing to do is kind of see this in action. There it is. Now, what we can also do is just quickly add a background color to this to see if it looks correct. I'm going to add a background color of red. Now, this is a common tool I use quite a lot. Again, it's just for seeing these things in action. And there we can see this is our 12 column grid. There's one column here, one column here. And we can change this really, really quickly. So we can add a lot to this. Maybe we don't want it to be that. Maybe it's 8 instead. If we add it as 8, then there's a bit more gap over here. We want to shift it over by one more grid and make it 3 instead. So we start at 3, 1, 2, 3 across and span 8. There it is in the middle. So we can play around with this and make it basically whatever we like. Again, I'm going to keep it like my designs 2 and 10. The background color isn't there. It's see-through, straight to the black color. And there we've got the first tagline section up and ready to go.